Today I will show you how to do this rose watercolor painting. You'll need watercolor paper, washi tape, painter's tape, and cardboard. Place the watercolor paper over the cardboard and secure it with the washi tape. After placing the tape, make sure to run your fingers along it so that it secures it down. Do this for all 4 edges. Try to make the borders even along all 4 sides as well. Taping down the watercolor paper will ensure that you have the most flat surface once your watercolor painting is done. Get a few pieces of masking tape and secure your corners down. Do not put the masking tape on your watercolor paper as it will tear. Now that you know how to tape down your watercolor paper, we will start on the painting. In addition to your watercolor paper, you will need your watercolors, your round brush, a 1-inch flat brush, a cup with water, and a paper towel. Take your round brush and dip it into the water, making sure to wet it thoroughly. Place the water on the red. Put the red color on the tray and keep adding water until you get the desired consistency, which should be very translucent, almost a pink color. It should look something like this. Make sure you don't have too much water on your paintbrush. In this case, I had a little bit too much, so I decided to take the excess off by putting it back into the cup of water. We will do a wet on dry technique. We will start with the roses. Start by making little C shapes like so. Make sure to kind of overlap them. I messed up on the first one, so I just made it into a little circle. Here is my second attempt. Make a comma shape for your first petal, then overlap it so it kind of looks like a yin-yang sign. Add petals to the right and left of the rosebud. When adding petals, make sure they overlap the previous 2 petals. Once your rose has enough petals, allow the first layer of paint to dry before adding a second layer over all of the petals. Adding layers of paint will contribute to the depth of your rose. Using this technique, place most of your roses onto the paper. While some of my roses are drying, I will start to place loose petals around the roses, as if they're falling from the sky. Loose petals look like little commas, and just watch what I'm doing on the video. And if you want to make them larger, just add a little bit to the tail, making sure that one of the sides is a little thicker. Check that your paintbrush has enough water and continue to add loose petals around your painting. I like to follow the shape that I've already created so that my petals are harmonious with my roses. While those are drying, I will work on my parts of the painting that are already dry. So I will go back and make sure everything has the right amount of layers and colors and fill in some spaces that need roses. Once your painting has enough roses and petals, clean your brush so that you're ready for the next color. With a wet brush, dip into the green color and set some aside on your tray. Make sure you have enough, as you're going to be mixing it with another color. Clean your brush again, then dip into the yellow and start mixing. The result should be a green-yellow that looks something like this. Now we can do the base layer of the leaves. I made the leaves as triangles, but they're a little wiggly so that they have a little more movement. Carefully draw them in. Try not to overlap too much over into the pink that you've already laid down. Continue this step until you are satisfied with the amount of leaves. Wash your brush, then dip into the pink and go over any roses that you might have missed before. Dip your brush into the water, then dip into the red and set some aside. After you've got a good amount of red, then you'll want to wash your brush again. Make sure it is completely clean, like so. Dip the clean wet brush into the blue and then mix with the red. I did not have enough red on my palette, so I had to clean the brush and then dip into the red and add it to the blue. Carefully dip into the new color and make sure there is no excess color coming off of the paintbrush. Using the new color, draw in the spiral that represents the bud of the rose. Then add in some overlapping petals by using half moon motions. Repeat these steps to add the details to every rose. It is okay if you run out of the color, just make some more. If the color doesn't match, don't worry, it'll just add more visual interest to your painting. After detailing all the roses, make sure to go over the edges of all of your petals. Before moving on to the next step, make sure your painting is dry. Make a light red, and you want it a little stronger than the pink you used earlier, and go over all of your roses. Don't forget your petals too. Rehydrate the green on your palette and then add more green and a tad of blue. This will make a dark green to go over your light green leaves. Carefully go over all of your leaves in this step. The additional layer of green will add vibrancy to the leaves and also overall depth. Finishing up with this color, I will make a warmer green using green and yellow. Then I will layer that color over the previous green shades. After placing the color down, I realized I wanted it to look warmer. I dipped into the yellow and then I placed it on the high points of the leaves where the sunlight would normally catch. I did alternate between the regular green and some of the mixed greens to kind of get the look I wanted. Here I wanted to make a cooler shade, so I added blue to the green. Then I added it to the places where shadows would be on the leaves. Clean your brush, then dip into the red and place it on a previous darker shade on your palette. If you don't know how to make it, it's just red and a little bit of blue. Start placing that color on the lowest part of your painting, working it up to about a third of the painting. We need the lower area of the painting to look cooler, so we need a little bit of blue. Place the blue on different areas of the lower portion of the painting, like I am doing, and spread it out. Here I added more blue to this area. I wanted it to look darker. it needed more pink, so I went in and added a little more red to that area. In this step, blending is key. Working in sections, I made the other parts of the upper painting wet, and then I added red to those areas, making sure to blend a lot throughout this step. I wanted it to look more red towards the top, so of course I've added more red. Get your larger brush and wet it so that you can use it as a blending tool for your harsh edges. With the smaller brush, get in between those little spaces and add more color as needed. Basically, you want the top to look very warm and the bottom to look cooler. If you see any pooling of the colors and you don't want that there, take your paper towel and just lightly dab where that extra water is. To blend out edges, take a small wet round brush and paint along the edges you want to soften. Try to blend away as much of the white that is peeking out throughout your painting. Water down some blue and place that in the middle part of your painting and blend it away so that you get a seamless look. Wash the brush and dip into the yellow. Add it to the upper left corner of your painting. Take a large wet brush and spread that color out throughout the top of the painting. With your smaller brush, get blue, dilute it with some water, then work it up the right edge of your painting. This will create a more balanced look to your painting. If you are finished with a color on your palette, just take your paper towel and soak it up. Place blue onto your palette, then take that blue along the edge of the upper right corner, taking it slightly down into the middle section of the painting. Take your large brush and dip it into the yellow and spread it over the top third of the painting. With a small brush, mix a green color with yellow and make a light green that will go over your leaves. You want to add in the detail that was lost when we were blending before. Remember that your painting may need to rest between layers. Layer in some darker green to make those leaves pop. With a wet brush, dip into the red and place some of that onto your palette. Add a little water until you get a color that looks something like this. Use the color to add in the details that have faded away from all the blending. Start with a spiral and then you'll add your petals one by one, alternating them and overlapping them. Do this for all of your roses and go over any other details like extra petals that you might want to bring attention to. When you're finished with that step, wash your brush so you're ready for the next color. Wet the existing green on your palette, then add more green until you are satisfied with the opacity. Add another layer of the green onto the leaves and add more details along the sides of the painting. With a wet brush, dip into the green, add equal parts yellow, then a little bit of blue to get a dark green color to then go in and add all of the dotted details into your painting. I added more leaves and another layer to my original leaves. Wash your brush, then dip into the red and add more petals. The details will add more movement to your painting. Dip into the red. You're going to make this color dark and opaque. You're going to add a little bit of purple, then more red. The goal is to make a really dark red color so that we can add more details onto the roses and even more petals. Go over any petal detail lines. Add more red pigment to your color if your red is not dark enough. Make your red darker by adding more red and purple into your mixture. Use this color to add shadows on the under right sides of your red detail lines. Follow the original lines you've created. Finally, deepen the colors in the upper portion of your painting. Add red on the left corner and add some yellow to the right. And you're finished. Make sure to put away your supplies. Once your painting is completely dry, take off all of the tape. Remember to sign your piece like every artist. Thanks for painting with me, and see you soon.